Top 10 games banned for violence.
Do it before it's too late.
Welcome to Beast Gaming. Today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 games banned for violence. In this video, we're only looking at games which were outright banned and rendered impossible or illegal to purchase in at least one country. If a game was censored and released, it doesn't count. Before starting, be sure to subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Number 10. Silent Hill Homecoming 2008.
Oh, he's gone. Everyone's gone.
The Silent Hill franchise has always dealt with especially dark subject matters, but it was the fifth installment, Silent Hill Homecoming, that really drew the ire of the Australian censors. Their main gripe with Homecoming's content was the use of a drill as a weapon, presumably worrying that this may encourage people to use drills as weapons in the real world. While it was finally released almost a year later, for a while it was completely illegal to sell after being refused classification down under. Number 9. Postal II 2003. New Zealand went all out in 2004 to stop people from getting their hands on this violent shooter. Postal II is still considered one of the most offensive games to ever be created, and for good reason. One of the scenes cited specifically by the country's Office of Film and Literature classification was a moment where the player can, if they so choose, urinate on the enemy. So it's not hard to see why they took so much issue with it. To this day, even owning the game in New Zealand is completely illegal and could see you getting a fine of $1,400. And for retailers selling or promoting the game, it could land them a massive $38,000 fine. Number 8. CounterStrike 2000. For 2 decades, it seems this one franchise that has never been able to escape controversy, but it may be surprising to some to hear that the original Counter-Strike was made outright illegal in Brazil, a whole 8 years after it was first released.
Need backup.
This is because it allegedly promotes the subversion of public order and attacks the democratic state and the law. According to the Brazilian arm of Kotaku, this was more specifically because Counter-Strike is set to teach war strategies and because of its portrayal of Rio's favelas. Number 7. Carmageddon 1997. It's been unceremoniously dubbed the most controversial video game of all time by some outlets, and upon its release in 1997, became the first game refused certification in the United Kingdom. The anti-hero of Carmageddon is Max Damage, a psychotic criminal who gets behind the wheel of a car and runs over as many people as possible. And the more you do this, the more points you rack up. While it was eventually released in the UK after 10 months of appealing, in Brazil it was banned completely as well as in the city of Buenos Aires. Number 6. Mad World 2009. If Mad World had been released on any other console, it probably would have had no problems whatsoever. Unfortunately, this ultraviolet hack and slasher came out on the Nintendo Wii, shattering the Wii's family-friendly image. Its core gameplay revolves around the gruesome game show Death Watch, where the bloodier your kills are, the more points you earn. Horrified parents lobbied for the game's total ban. Worried about the effect it may have on their kids, despite it certainly not being marketed towards them, it was completely banned in Germany, delayed in Japan, and received the highest possible rating in the UK. Number 5. Dead Rising 3 2013.
Oh, shit! Come on!
Perhaps bizarrely, the law in Germany prohibits video games with human-like enemies, meaning that any and all games involving zombies are pretty much a no-go area. Because of this, the highly anticipated Dead Rising 3 was not allowed to be released by Germany's Federal Department for Media Harmful to Young Persons, worried about the effect the game could have on the country's youth. But this hardly came as a surprise even to Capcom themselves, as both the first and second Dead Rising games were also banned from this corner of Europe. Number 4. All violent video games and toys. In 2009, the Venezuelan authorities proposed a frustratingly vague bill to ban all violent video games, which, despite contention, went into effect the following year. This law specifically states that people may not import, manufacture, sell, rent, or distribute violent toys or video games, which they define as anything seen to promote or incite violence. Getting caught doing any of those things can land you an incredible 5 years in prison, along with hefty fines, as video games, namely the likes of the Grand Theft Auto and God of War series, have been blamed for rising crime rates in the country. Number 3. Duke Nukem 3D 1996. Love it or hate it, it's hard to deny that the Duke Nukem series is overflowing with violence. Duke's never been particularly conservative or gentle when it comes to defending Earth from enemies of invading aliens. But this entry didn't go over well in Brazil. They wound up banning it as part of a crackdown on violent video games in the late 1990s, which also saw other acclaimed first-person shooters like Doom take a hit. Duke Nukem 3D was even censored in the United States, and in Germany it was illegal to advertise it. Number 2. Manhunt 2 2007.
Do it before it's too late.
Few titles have reached the level of infamy of Rockstar Games' Manhunt 2, no stranger to pushing the boundaries to see just what they can get away with. It seems that back in 2007, the studio went just a little bit too far with its gratuitous gore. It was banned in Germany, New Zealand, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and even the UK, to name just a few. The British Board of Film Classification refused to give it a rating after a murder in 2004 was linked to the first Manhunt. It remains one of the goriest and most violent games in history. Number 1. Mortal Kombat 2011. The very first Mortal Kombat was so controversial for its intense violence that it led to the introduction of the ESRB rating system. But for the next 18 years, some people in Australia were desperate to have it totally banned. Finally, when the 2011 reboot was released, they got their wish. The Australian authorities refused classification to Mortal Kombat, making it illegal to sell or import copies of the game, citing the trademark fatalities as their reason. Their statement said, despite the exaggerated conceptual nature of the fatalities, impact is heightened by the use of realistic graphics. Thanks for watching, be sure to subscribe and never miss a single video.